Glenn, just give Toontrack a bit more time. I hear they are releasing easy band, easy live performance, and easy frontman. Things should get so much better.
Truly, the future of heavy metal music is very bright indeed. Hey everybody, how's it going? Hope you're having an amazing Friday and hope you're going to have an even better weekend. Once again, it's time for SMG Viewers Comments, the show that is about you, not about me. So let's get to your comments and questions right now.
Something I wish I'd have known when starting a band. Don't start a band with your friends if you're going to be the one mixing and recording your band. Turns out, just because you're friends, it doesn't mean they're impervious to being fucking arrogant shitheads when you're trying to correct bad habits or get a retake done. God forbid the guy fucking mixing the album wants it to sound good. Needless to say, I'm the bassist and engineer, but I find I'm also the guitarist on the recordings and the drummer and the synth guy. At least their Butthurt only lasts for the session and we can all go back to hanging out while they waste their time smoking pot and bitching about having no money for their own studio gear despite my recommendations on low-cost gear and not wasting money, right?
Oh man, that sounds all too familiar. You know, this is something I discovered even way back in, 1993 when I was working with a band. I used to sing in a group. We had rented a 4-track recorder and we were going to make a little demo in our demo studio, and all we did was sit around and argue for hours on end about how we were going to do things. And it's like, guys, I've gone to school for this shit. Will you fucking just play the fucking songs? Nope. Everybody's got to have their own fucking opinions. That's why sometimes recording your own band doesn't work out so well. It's better to go to somebody else that everybody can bounce ideas off of and he can kind of play referee. Because if you're really good friends, there's that whole, hey, go fuck yourself kind of mentality that you're going to get from your friends, otherwise known as blowback, because how dare you tell your friend how to play their instrument properly? And that's the thing about recording local bands that might be just starting out or doing their thing. The job isn't so much producing them, it's more about showing them how to play their instruments correctly for recording. That's the one thing that recording school never fucking tells you. Isn't it fun?
Glenn, what do you think about how Iron Maiden has been recording since 2000? They're basically playing live in the studio, no click track, and then doing a bunch of overdubs. Around 2/3 of the vocals on A Matter of Life and Death are live takes. A lot of fans are complaining about that way of working because it doesn't get those super clean, inhumanly tight performances, but I love it, and they actually sound like themselves and not everybody else.
Who'd have thunk that's the way how to get your band to sound like your own fucking band? Leave the shit alone and don't fuck with it. Great thing about Iron Maiden is you've got a band full of world-class players who can pull that shit off. I mean, yeah, Brave New World was mostly live off the floor. I still throw that album on because it's got such a great fucking vibe. Wow, we haven't heard a vibe on a record in about 20 years outside of Iron Maiden. I tell you, this is just earth-shattering news to those of us who grew up in the 80s when that was the standard when bands would perform live off the floor. That's why you can still put on British Steel and it still sounds fresh, because that was mostly live off the floor. And once again, you have to have world-class players who can actually pull that off. I mean, like in Iron Maiden's case, you've got one of the best metal rhythm sections on earth, Nico McBrain and Steve Harris, and wow, those guys can really deliver the goods. Yeah, just the whole band is completely spectacular. So they probably don't have to sit there and edit the living shit out of it because their performances are just fucking great. So I think the underlying theme behind this statement would be, maybe work on your musicianship instead of trying to fuck with it after the fact.
The other day, I found a tube test I did years ago on my then new Blackstar HT5R after reading on forums that the Tungsol Gold would make the amp sound blah 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 better. I did the recording in one sitting using the same mic placement, cab settings, guitar, etc. Only difference being the variance in my playing, and listening back to it years later, I still can't hear any tonal difference between the Tungsol and the factory Sovtek. Reminds me of the sinking feeling I got back then after paying 3 times the price of a regular 12AX7 to hear absolutely no change. Only thing I eventually learned was that Tungsol tubes last a long time, whereas Chinese-made Marshall tubes that came in my JVM, not so much. So when it came time to change them, I put in a regular price Tungsol brand Russian-made tubes and got the amp sounding like new again, for the less than the price of the Chinese tubes with the Marshall printed on them.
Yeah, you know, that's the sad truth of a lot of it is when we start actually doing real tests where we make recordings of before and after, and then once we adjust for any volume differences we might be hearing, you're going to notice the change in tone is about that much to absolutely non-existent. Of course, if you want to get a super accurate test, you want to get yourself one of these. This is a Signal Art reamp box. That way you won't even get a performance difference, because if you change where you're picking your guitar just down the neck or up a little bit in relation to ship to where the bridge is, you're going to get a tone shift. So if you want something super accurate where the performance isn't changing at all, get one of these because it's going to tell you what's really going on.
I I agree with the Butthurt guy. When I remove my tubes and turn on my amp, it definitely sounds different.
You may have a point, my friend.
I remember in the 90s, a friend of mine who's now known as a world-class guitarist changed the tubes in his Marshall. The Marshall still sounded exactly the same! I don't understand how people keep thinking tubes are going to be some mind-altering change in the amp's tone. Differences are in different amps and different cabs and speakers. That's it. You've already proven this.
How dare you bring science into this argument, Glenn? I spent money on those tubes and they sound better, damn it! Because I spent money!
This probably doesn't count, but switching the tubes around on my Behringer T5 really changed the tone from darker brighter. Right now, I just have one of those silver dragon tubes, Shoe Gang 12AX7B to make it sound brighter. Left the other stock tubes since the tongue saw tube made it darker muddy. It's just a 2-tube amp though, so yeah.
Hey man, thanks so much for writing in. I really do appreciate that. I noticed you inadvertently left a link out to the test that you conducted so we could hear what you're talking about and verify it with our own ears instead of just taking your word for it.
Glenn, I saw this video and it immediately pulled the back off this used Marshall cabinet I got at a thrift store for $400 about 7 or 8 years ago. I was thrilled when I saw the stock V30s were all from 2002. I've had a holy grail of tone this whole time and I never knew it. I will start taking better care of this cabinet now, or better yet, we'll put the speakers in a better cabinet.
Dude, that's fantastic. I love hearing stories about, little wins like that where it's like, oh, I thought I had this piece of shit. Turns out the speakers in it were absolutely amazing. I got a video coming out next week. I'm kind of editing it later today where we buy the world's shittiest guitar cabinet and upgrade it with some better speakers just to hear what kind of tone differences we get. And we've got some pretty amazing results, I gotta say. If you're interested in any way about upgrading your tones for not a whole lot of money, I highly recommend hitting the subscribe button, the notification bell, all that stuff, so you get notified when this one comes out, because I hope to save a lot of you guys an awful lot of money. I might have just cracked the tone code when it comes to old shitty guitar cabinets. In other words, if your cabinet sounds good, leave it the fuck alone because you probably don't need to spend more money. Just take care of what you have.
Glenn, Behringer's XR18 has been my interface for about 4 years now, 18 ins and outs, and I got mine for under $500.
Hey, John, that's absolutely fantastic, man. I've heard a lot of good things about those Behringer systems. My buddy Dave Velez down in San Diego mics up his drums with that. I know the Witherfall guys use one of those Behringer X systems for their live touring rig. Yeah, fantastic. Hell, I've got the ADA 8000 sitting right here, and, it really does the job, and it won a blind shootout on gear slots among all these other AD converters that cost tens of thousands of dollars. This little $200 unit. One, a lot of the Behringer stuff can really sound fantastic. Don't think that you need to pour thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars into your gear to get good results, because these days, even the bottom barrel stuff sounds great.
Wow, Glenn, thanks and keep up the great work. Thanks to you and Christian, I switched out my speakers to the Eminence DV77 and CV75. Absolutely thrilled with the results.
Yeah, I dropped the DV77 into my Engel cab. I'm going to be miking that up in the next few weeks, doing a little demo on it because it definitely needs its due. I know there was a bit of a supply chain issue with it. Hopefully Eminence has got that straightened out, but it's so cool to start to hear other guitar players break out of the vintage 30 mold. I mean, it's a great sounding speaker, but okay, guys, it's like Nirvana. I got pounded into the ground. I think we've all heard it by now. Maybe it's time to try something new. And if you're looking for new guitar tones, it's not going to be with your fucking tubes. Even your amp heads are only going to have minor variations on the theme when it comes to tube amps. If you want to really make a massive difference in your sound, try new speakers, try new microphones. The transducers are what really affect your tone, not the tubes.
Best combo I've ever found is selection Greenbacks with Eminence Legends in an X pattern. I definitely suggest taking any old cab and slinging them in there. My band's rhythm guitar swapped out the old standard speaker to this MG Marshall cab, and holy shit, it screams now.
Eminence Legends, you say? That definitely might be something I want to check out. Once again, I'm going to be testing out 3 separate cabinets, all built out of different kinds of wood, to hear if there's actual quote-unquote tone wood when it comes to guitar cabs. Should be interesting to find out. And we're going to be trying out a whole bunch of different speakers. In this, I've got an EVH and a G12 Heritage, and we're going to be taking those and once again, putting them into 3 different cabs just to hear what's really going on. Should be a lot of fun. But yeah, I definitely want to check out what those Eminence are about. Of course, I'm always looking for suggestions on maybe some boutique brand speakers, that kind of thing. I'm going to be checking out the Fanes, the Scumbags, and somebody suggested the Webers as well. If you guys have some other brands you think I should check out, feel free to leave a comment below, because that's going to be the big hunt for me this year, is try and find something really cool that might be a little bit off the beaten path.
Glenn, when you get the new speakers for testing, could you also test the myth of speaker break-in? Do new speakers change their sound from when they're new out of the box until they're played enough till they settle in? I'm thinking the testing could go something like this. Mic a new speaker in an ISO cap, record a test of an impulse response, and then reamp the riff to document the sound, then play something through the speaker at normal playing volume, either noise or real loops, and keep the speaker in the ISO cap and don't move the mic. Re-record the test every 10 hours up to 100 hours, and then every 100 hours up to 1,000 hours. Does this new speaker sound different after being played after 1,000 hours? If so, how long did it take to change and what changed with the sound?
That would be a hell of a test to do. Unfortunately, I just don't have the facility to pull that off. I don't have the floor space to set something up where we're going to hear a massive shift in the tone. And certainly not a space where I can keep something playing for 1,000 hours at full volume. It's just not practical. It would probably take several months to do, and I don't think my neighbors would put up with that very well, with that going 24 hours, 7 days a week of just something blasting through a speaker for that long. Maybe if I build a new studio and I can really isolate something, I'd love to try doing that because, yeah, that's something I'm very, very, very curious about is, yeah, speaker break-in, is it real? Some say yes, some say no, but nobody's really done the test, and I would love to do that test. Somebody's got a facility I can borrow in Southern Ontario for a couple months. We can just set up an amp and let a signal run through it and not move the mic. That's the real trick. Let something go for that long without moving the mic. Be very interested to hear the results we can get. You guys got any suggestions? I'm all ears.
Glenn, this is not a riff. Plays fucking Hostile poorly. Yeah, it's a riff.
Fuck you, Mike Fox. That was not a riff. That was me just noodling around. I wasn't trying to play fucking Hostile. I don't know. Maybe get your brain off something other than Pantera for a change?
Glenn, one day it would be great to hear you do a full cover of Warriors of Genghis Khan.
Oh, I completely agree. And if this was 2014, I could totally get away with it. These days in 2022, if I did a song where the first verse was burning, looting, raping, shooting, I'd get fucking canceled. Ain't YouTube glorious nowadays?
Glenn, if you don't pull the U87 out that often, what are your go-to vocal mics?
Well, my favorites right now are probably the Roswell Delphos and Colaris. There's also, of course, the Signal Art U47 tube clone that they sent me that just sounds unreal. I've got a lot of great stuff from Lewitt, and there's going to be something very special coming in the mail from them in a couple weeks. And hopefully Lauren Babbick's going to help me try that one out. That should be a very fun video to do. That being said, yeah, I actually pulled this out. And yeah, this is my vintage U87 from 1982. And I bought this in 2008 when as a present to myself for quitting smoking. It sat here in the studio, smoke-free, since 2008. So what are we, like, 14 years now? Holy shit. Of course, yeah, it's not really getting used that much anymore because I've just got so many other great mics to work with. The Jay-Z stuff, again, absolutely incredible. My V67s are down in LA. Those things are just gorgeous microphones. That being said, if somebody is in the market for a vintage U87 from 1982 that's been very well taken care of and has been looked over by David Bach before I got it, he serviced it. If somebody wants a vintage U87 that is in absolutely great condition, sounds amazing, maybe hit me up, make me an offer because I might be willing to let it go because it's just not getting used anymore and that's kind of a shame. I'd say go to my About page on the YouTube channel and click under business inquiries and make me an offer, and no, don't fucking lowball me because you will be ignored.
Thanks for mentioning how we are all ass-busting regular people doing regular jobs and fighting our way through it all. I appreciate that you get it. Things like my guitars and gear mean so much more knowing I busted my ass in a 130-degree smokehouse to get it. TY, man, respect for that.
Eric, I fucking sympathize, dude. I did 27 summers at Chrysler, which is just basically a gigantic oven in the Windsor heat. Like in summertime, it can get to be about 98 to 103 degrees Fahrenheit outside. And because we're surrounded by the Great Lakes, we've got Lake St. Clair, we've got the Detroit River, and to the south, we've got Lake Erie. It gets very, very, very humid in the summer. And let's just put it this way, chafing's a real thing. And yes, I share your pain, and believe me, it's fucking painful. After working a bunch of summers like that, believe me, I understand just how fucking hard a lot of you guys work for your money, doing jobs you fucking hate so you can do something you love. And I've got nothing but the absolute most respect for you guys because I've been there and I've done it, and I understand that the struggle is indeed very real. And to all you guys who are working shitty jobs for shit wages, you know what? My hat's off to you. Keep at it. It does get better.
I work for DoorDash, and I would never use the service myself. It pays okay if you know what you're doing, but it should be reserved for those that won't feel it in the bank. If you're doing something with your music that you want to pursue and you're semi-decent in the kitchen, bulk prep meals and save a ton.
Larry, thanks so much for writing that. You know, I was talking with a couple guys on my Discord about that. And when one of the guys was like, hey, I watched your video where you mentioned DoorDash, and I realized just how much money I was spending, and I stopped doing it, and suddenly I've got money again. I'm like, yeah, no fucking shit. Those services like DoorDash and Instacart are super convenient. They also don't cost you a fucking arm and a leg. They are going to fuck you very, very hard when it comes to the pricing. So if you want to save some money and want to get your gear faster, you want to buy a new guitar, new pedal, new amp, whatever, stop using those services. You will save money. I can't say it any more plainly like that. Learn how to cook, save some money.
Nothing screams metal more than a minivan. I can see Glenn driving an old station wagon, but not a minivan.
And well, that's because I spent most of my working life building them. That's the thing. I believe in those products because that's what I did every day for 27 years. I drive a fucking Dodge minivan. And there's a reason why they're still so fucking popular. It's because they're fucking great. I've driven that thing from my place here in Windsor to Los Angeles and back twice. It's absolutely amazing for long distance road trips. Plus you can fit a drum set in there, guitar cabs, you name it. Super practical vehicles. I can't say enough good things about them. Surprisingly very good on gas as well. And you're riding up high so you can see what the fuck's going on. Definitely not cool. You're definitely not going to get laid driving one of those. But then again, I don't measure my manhood by the vehicle I drive. I couldn't give a flying fuck. Of course, a bunch of my friends are all getting Teslas these days and they're beautiful vehicles, but I've got no need for one right now because I'm not commuting anymore, which is fantastic. If you don't need a car, don't fucking buy one. That's my advice. Save your money, spend it on stuff you're going to get better use out of. Anyway, guys, that's it for this episode. Sorry there was no butthurt of the week. Kind of rare that somebody hasn't been royally pissed off by one of my videos, but it does happen from time to time. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. Make sure you stay tuned for that cabinet upgrade video. I think that's going to be eye-opening for a lot of you guys. It certainly was for me, and I can't wait to show it off. I'm going to get to editing that right now, so I say this to you, have an amazing weekend, and I'll see you back here in a couple days. Thanks so much. Wow, I'd really like to get one. Alrighty. What you're claiming with... Alright, that was not bad at all. Okay. Fuck, I need a new fucking... Fuck do I ever need a new chair? This thing squeaks like a motherfucker. I bought a new one off Amazon and it fucking broke.